Hello, this is John Stone. I'm the XYGhost. I'm here with Darrell Parrott, and Darrell is a man from Kentucky, and he's well. Let me ask you a question. What is your background originally?
Well, born and raised here. The stonemason most of my life, so I worked only around men, and I've always loved science and art, and this is the love of science is what kind of led me in this direction. And hearing my men come in and tell the same stories, different men, but the same stories. So it kind of got me curious.
The same story about divorce and relationships and all that other
absolutely.
Stuff. Yeah. And what you were a archaeologist?
Amateur archaeologist, yes.
Amateur?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. I was on national news for a week for one of my discoveries.
And what was that discovery? Well,
it was a burial ground that I've already mentioned it to you. I always picked up arrowheads in the field, and I wanted to know more about the people who made these arrowheads. And so I went to the University of Kentucky and bought a topographical map for this area and looked around. I was looking for shelters, what I was looking for, and I marked 3 areas. And the first one I went to, I hit a woman's head about 2 foot deep. Kind of surprised me, but one of the happiest days of my life that an idea on paper actually generated a real find, you know? But that is a woman who had a small dog buried beside her. And that stuck in my mind forever. In archaeology, when you excavate a site, you will find mainly old people and children, the same as our cemeteries. And so in this one, there was no children. So this, right off the bat, was very unusual. It had all age groups of people, young adults, old people. The oldest there was 35. The University of Kentucky took the bones and did all the work on it. So I know a lot about how they lived. They were 3,500 years ago. So a few miles from where I sit now, 3,500 years ago, was a little Indian woman who lived in a rock shelter that for some reason had no children, but she had a small dog that she was buried with. So you can see how this intrigued me.
I mean, what's intriguing about it is the fact that pets and the owners never usually die at the same time.
Right. That was always the funny part of it to me. How did the dog die? And in my family, my grandmother had one of those animals, and when she died, we would have drawn straws to see who got to kill the animal. So I don't know how it was with this Indian lady. I've always wondered about that. Did they sacrifice the dog? Did the dog die first? Did she kill herself? I mean, we just have no way of knowing, right?
Exactly.
But what I do know is she had paid special attention to that animal. That was obvious, right? To be buried with it.
Right. So in the scheme of things, how did this relate to the men that you were dealing with on a daily basis that were telling you about the problems of their relationship, the wives, and so on and so forth?
Well, for instance, the women making the men sleep in the bed with an animal. And most of my men, they come home hot and tired. They worked all day out in the sun. The last thing they want to do is have a damn animal in the bed with them.
Right.
But the women insist on it, and they say it's because they are so caring and sensitive. Okay, this is what led me down the path I went. Because obviously they didn't care about the husband's thoughts on this, right?
Right.
Right. So that's not a caring thing to do. And she wasn't sensitive to his desires. So right off the bat, she wasn't caring or sensitive. But more importantly, why did she feel the need to do this? This is what, and I kept thinking about the Indian woman 3,500 years ago. what caused her to love this animal so much she was buried with it.
Yeah. We're often told about these stories of cat women and women that have this, tremendous need to like hoard tons of cats.
Right.
And is this does it have anything to do with this?
Well,
what you're talking about?
they are a symptom of what's going on. So here's what I predict. All these women, cat women, whatever, they have a horrible death to one of their children in the past, whether they aborted it, it was taken from them by the state, they never got to see it again. Whatever happened, whatever society tells her, well, it's okay to get an abortion, right? It's not a human yet. Her body endorphin system does not understand it. All it knows is she killed her own child, and it punishes her by withholding endorphins from her. So every time she thinks about the aborted baby, she is depressed because of the lack of endorphins. Now, you can get endorphins by petting an animal. Isn't that strange that your endorphin system is connected to pets? And also, look at their language. They rescued an animal. They adopted an animal, right? These are
and they're
all
never purchased.
Right,
it's never
right.
an animal they purchase. It's a rescue. Okay.
But I ask them, well, what about, do you let your cat outside? Yes, I let it outside for a couple hours a day. Well, what about the small birds and small animals it kills? Are you responsible for them? Well, no, it's a meat-eating animal. I said, yes, but you brought it into the area where the young rabbit lived. Without you in the picture, the cat wouldn't be the death of young birds and rabbits. Simply by taming a predator. By taming a predator and then releasing it into the wild. It's all an effort to relieve the guilt is what they're doing. Okay? It's that plain and simple. And our society does nothing but lay on maternal guilt to young women. Right? You can have an abortion wherever you want. You don't need to breastfeed. Send your kid off school. See, we homeschooled our kids, breastfed them till they were 5 years old. They slept in the family bed. So for us, children was never a problem, something you look at as work, right? She wake up in the middle of the night hungry. My wife would pull her over to the breast and boom, everybody's back to sleep. There was no getting up in the middle of the night and fixing bottles. Now, brain growth hormones are present in mother's milk up to 5 years after the birth. Now, we breastfed both of my children for the 5 years, and they both have photographic memories. No one else in my family does, but these two do. Is that a coincidence? I don't know, but it seems like they benefited from those brain growth hormones, right?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And a lot of times right now, most people nowadays are brain dead. I mean, brain dead in the 21st century.
Oh, that's right.
As opposed to people that are in the 1950s that were like, lots of mind, lots of brain power, lots of ideas, lots of
even their games were memorization games and stuff. They were proud of having a sharp mind. And the internet, we can look up anything. You can be the biggest idiot in the world, be able to look something up.
Yeah, that's true. And we have these shows. I think it was started by Howard Stern, and then it went to Jay Leno, and then where they go out in the street and they ask very, very simple questions.
Right.
And these people do not even understand the millennials. They don't have no understanding of any of this. They have no mind for it. And it's basically what you're saying is the lack of brain growth hormones in the breast milk, and
it lowered their potential. Now, all that means it lowered the potential. What you're talking about is just flat out poor education, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's two different issues. When you give the education of your child over to the state, Oh, here in Kentucky, when I was homeschooling my daughter back in '86, I think is when I started, the Kentucky bragged about finally getting up to the national average on their scholastic tests. They bragged about being average. Homeschoolers test in the top 5% of the nation. So
Yeah.
there was no choice for me. If I loved my daughter and wanted the best for her, this is what I had to do. And I was glad to do that. It wasn't like this was a chore. I enjoyed every moment of it. And I think that's the way our bodies, including our endorphin system, is set up to help you be a good parent. When you cuddle your kid, it releases endorphins. I think the same thing when you teach your kid something new and you're so proud, you see the look on their face, they understand. I think the endorphin system is rewarding you for this behavior. Imagine of all the animals, we have to have one of the highest paternal instincts of any because our children take so long to develop.
Right.
Right? So it just makes sense. We have more than most animals.
So it's like an interdependency, a dependency on the children for the parents, and a dependency on the parents for the children. Is that would you think that's correct?
Not really. It's a mutually beneficial. You get all these
That's what I meant.
fantastic. Yes, you get all these fantastic emotional rewards for doing your job well, and the child gets a parent who wants the best for them. So it's a win-win situation. And if you don't do that, your body punishes you by withholding. And this is the key to it. It withholds the endorphins. And so now you have these modern women, they're depressed and they blame everything they could think of when it's actually their own decisions that are causing their depression. Their body just naturally is not releasing the endorphins they crave so much.
Mm-hmm.
Are you following me on
Wow.
this?
Definitely, I can understand that, because women these days are so unhappy.
Right. Right. One in four is on mood altering drugs. 1 in 4.
One
And I
in
think
four.
some of the others are on illegal drugs.
Right. Yeah. Because I've known, I know a lot of potheads in my life, and pill poppers and drunks and alcoholics, and the ones that are very severe are women.
Yeah.
Are very severe.
That's right. That's right. So I found that there's 3 ways in our modern society to get the endorphins that you so badly need. You can take a chemical version, right? You can go to the doctor and he'll prescribe something for you, which goes a long way in describing the drug problem in America right now. I mean, it's built in. These women are not making it naturally, and they're craving it elsewhere. Then they get endorphins. They also can get endorphins, and normally they'll do both. You find a woman that's crazy about pets. Normally she's on mood altering drugs too. And the third method is religion. Now remember, religion takes the guilt away. You follow me?
I gotcha.
Yeah, so there's 3 ways to relieve guilt: religion, drugs, and pets. And so these animal rights activists always exhibit at least 2 out of these 3. That's what lets me know they aborted children in the past or had them removed from them. They bear a large burden of guilt. And that's what
Right.
That describe their behavior perfectly.
My sister hangs around. She's like the feminist.
Mm-hmm.
And she hangs around with a lot of women that she has counseled out of their relationships.
Right.
And counseled into abortions. And now, like, there's a girl that I grew up in high school with, and there was a girl I grew up with in high school that's a friend of my sister now, and she has tremendous guilt. Like, she has a strong affinity towards children. She had like 4 or 5 abortions in her life.
Right.
Very strong.
Right.
I never realized that's the connection.
Right. Yes. It's at the basic level. It's biochemical. Her body is not getting the endorphins. on a social level, she's blaming everybody for her unhappiness. She was told by the feminists, hey, abort these children. There is no consequences to you. You don't have to ask the man. It's just purely your decision. Well, that's not true. The British, let me get this straight. Journal of Medicine last year questioned 600,000 women years after their abortion. You would not believe the high rate of mental problems, depression, just out the roof, alcoholism, drug abuse, suicides. It was just, compared to the average population, it was just out of control. And see, they didn't even figure in pets. And I'm the only one that looks for the pet connections, as far as I can tell. But from my grandmother and others, I see how this relieves their guilt. And it's maternal guilt they're relieving.
Interesting. I now I'm like recalling a couple I know. The woman was pregnant and she didn't want to tell her husband, and for some reason she told me, and she went out and got a date rape drug or something like that to abort the child.
Uh-huh.
Like the day after, the morning after pill or something like that.
Right.
And after that, like maybe a couple of years after that, she started, pills and alcohol, like severe, and the man couldn't deal with it. But I didn't know the family well. I knew her,
right?
So I don't think what she told me was in confidence,
right?
And I was like, okay, do what you got to do. I don't want to be part of this, and
Mm-hmm.
And now I see there's a connection. There's a strong connection. And let me ask you a question. Is there also a connection with wasting your fertility? I mean, you don't have to have an abortion, but
Well, absolutely. That's the most die-in-the-wool feminists and animal rights activists are the women who had abortions in their youth. Now in their 30s, they're trying to conceive and they can't. And so it's a vicious cycle. So they just had their period. Now they got a couple weeks hoping, oh, maybe this time I'll get pregnant. Oh, they wait. They test their vaginal fluids to find the most fertile day, and then they have as much sex as possible. And then they're elated. Maybe this time. Then their period comes, and they sink. And so every month is this horrible roller coaster ride of emotions. And just imagine any normal person what that would do to you. It's going to destroy you, and you're not going to be thinking logically. You're going to be thinking emotionally, which only leads to more problems. And then they band together into groups, and they are affecting our laws, our government, everything.
Yeah, it's a bunch of angry women. It's the angry women brigade.
Right.
Wow.
So I have a unique way of looking at this, but I think it's true. From what I can tell from years of observing women, especially their treatment of animals, there's just an obvious connection between maternal guilt and treating an animal like a child. It's built in. Look at their language. Like I said, rescue an animal, adopt one. Yet they say their child is just a group of cells. They can kill it.
Right. And I've just heard that a new terminology for owners of pets is companions.
Right.
So they changed the new. It's like you're no longer a pet owner.
Right.
You're a pet companion.
Right.
Or a caretaker or something like that.
Right. It's all virtue signaling. They're trying to say, look, I am a good person. I may have aborted my child, but look at me now. I'm a great person. And really, it's just the guilt eating them alive.
Yeah. Wow. Now, you said you were married twice
before,
and then you were working in...
stonemason. I build
stonemason.
Stone walls and things without mortar. It's a specialty.
You dealt with a lot of men and you were listening to their complaints about they're women.
Right.
And how many years ago was that?
I'm retired now, so up until 5 years ago, I ran crews all my working life. I mean, I never worked around women, so I have a unique perspective on that. I hear horror stories of men that have, but there's just not any women in the dry stone industry. It's just hard, brutal work out in the hot sun, and they don't want to do that.
They want equality, but they don't want that equality.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right.
You know, I say sometimes, oh, you want equality? Yeah, join the Marines, join the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, join them.
Yeah,
you know,
that's right.
Okay, yeah.
Join ride the garbage truck. Ride the back of the garbage truck. That's equal.
Do roofing in the middle of July.
Absolutely. You know? Oh my Lord, yes.
And I'm called a woman hater when I want equality of women. I want real equality of women. Oh yeah, the highest paid female model it gets paid something like $11-12 million a year. The highest paid male model in the world today is like $800,000.
Right.
I want real equality.
But that's why you don't see many black people in the animal rights group. Is because they join a group and fight for equality, okay? It doesn't matter. It's their fight that releases the endorphins. Does that make sense?
I got you.
And that's why there's so few black women that are animal rights activists, that have pets that they treat like children. I mean, it's not a bad thing. Right. It's just a cultural thing.
Right. So basically, the black people that are fighting for their rights get the endorphins from fighting for their right.
Correct. Just like the white women fighting for the rights of an animal get the endorphins.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
And that explains why the animal rights group is segregated. They don't withhold blacks. It's just the blacks don't have that need that the white women do.
Because they got their own endorphins.
Right. They have their own unique method of achieving.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
wow.
How about if I tell you a case study?
Go ahead.
Okay. Let's take my grandmother. I grew up with this, so no one had to tell me this. My uncle, back in the late 60s, was had to go to the army, had to go to Vietnam, and he wanted to go to Canada. My grandmother said, no one in our family has ever deserted. She made him go. He had this little chihuahua. He said, well, Mom, you keep my dog while I'm gone. Well, he got killed, and then she treated that dog better than any baby you've ever seen. And it was obvious to me. I saw Grandma was so ate up with guilt, and that little animal helped her with the guilt. So it wasn't a big discovery for me. I grew up with this. But then looking at other women, I said, oh, yeah, she's acting like Grandma did. So I had a unique perspective, maybe.
So she sort of like transferred her.
Yes, right. She transferred her. Well, I know now, she received endorphins for petting the animal, right? And it was the endorphins she was craving. She felt guilty. Now, I'm not saying she didn't feel guilty, but that's the way the guilt actively happens in her body. It simply stops the release of endorphins.
Interesting.
And for years, they just found that out a couple of years ago. I thought, oh my Lord, I've been predicting that there was a hormone yet undiscovered that caused feelings of guilt, right? There's a hormone that causes all kinds of feelings. But I was wrong. It's even more beautiful than I thought. They simply withhold the good stuff, right? It's a positive feedback system. It's just beautiful in its simplicity. You do what your DNA tells you should. It'll give you a normal amount of endorphins. You do things contrary to that, and it shuts off the endorphins. And we call that feeling guilt, right?
Right.
It's just our word for that process.
So nowadays, and for the past, 50 years, women have been taking also the pill, to prevent themselves from having kids. And basically their bodies are saying, hey, I'm ready. And they are totally ignoring the best,
and so the
most
body
fertile.
slows down the release of endorphins, which makes them depressed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this
Right.
explains so much about modern women. They always are unhappy. You can't make them happy, right? You can't.
My brother got married a couple of weeks ago, and the father of the bride went up to my brother and said, "You better make my daughter happy." I don't know how. I've been married for 35 years, and I still can't make my wife happy.
Oh,
So
Lordy.
that was like, I'm not sure if well-adjusted people stay married, have kids, take care of kids, or does having kids, taking care of kids make you well-adjusted? Is it one or the other? Is it like the well-adjusted have kids, or you have kids, then you become well-adjusted?
I understand. Like anything in nature, you take anything, height, anything. Nature gives us everything. There's some very tall people, some very short people, and a lot of us in between, right? It's the same with your instincts. And the people without these feelings of guilt, we call psychopaths, right? I mean, and so there's there's all kind of levels of psychopath on one end and Mother Teresa on the other, right?
Yes.
But the feminist movement has taken all these people in the middle and pushed them toward the psychopaths end. They're telling them, well, you don't have to care. There's no burden to you if you abort this, right? And they're just heaping the guilt on these women. They are responsible for a lot of what we've seen.
And a lot of people will say, you know, and it was this is open admission by the Rockefeller Foundation. They said they wanted to start feminism to
destroy the family.
Destroy the family, and that's what the stated goals are for Black Lives Matter. Go to the website blacklivesmatter.com, and you could see their goals are to break up the family.
Right.
In fact, Black Lives Matter's website says they are for the mother, the children, and the children's parents, but they never mention the father.
Right. I mean, it's horrible.
So basically, the Rockefeller Foundation wanted to break up the family, wanted to indoctrinate, have the women working, and have their children in school at a younger age so they can indoctrinate. And we're seeing the end results of this plan.
I agree. I agree 100%.
Women are working, men are working, and men are not with their children, women are not with their children, and the school is pushing an agenda of socialism in the schools at a very young age, and the children are just like rebelling against capitalism, yet they don't even know what socialism is.
Right.
It's totally insane.
And you have men who were raised without a father are now have children that again are being raised without a father. So you're having children now 2 or 3 generations with no father in there, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so it's horrible. It's horrible. I mean, the worst thing you could be is a man in America right now.
Oh yeah. Oh, I tell you, I'm 57 years old, and I've been divorced now for like 19 years, maybe 19, 20 years. I don't know. I forgot. And I swore right then and there, that was it. That's it.
Right.
I'm done.
Right.
And I've been single so long, even my father's thinks that I'm gay. And I'm not. I'm like.
They used to call us confirmed bachelors.
Confirmed.
Yeah, we were confirmed bachelors.
I remember the day that my wife walked out on me, and she called me up. She says, "I don't love you. You think I love you anymore? You thought I really loved you?"
Right.
He says, "You're so stupid. You're so stupid." I was like, "What the hell?" And I remember hanging up that phone call, and I was like, "It's the same thing." I repeated to myself out loud, It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's the same about maybe 100 times. I'm like, why? Why am I doing this to myself again?
Right.
Yet again. You know,
Right.
I've seen over and over again the same exact scenarios, day in, day out, on my life, my neighbor's life, on coworkers' lives, and even in public life. You know,
Right.
how it just, I love you, I love you, I love you. You get from the woman, now I love him now.
Right. Well, I thought it was white women. I didn't date white women forever. I said, these bitches are horrible, right? And I married a Mexican woman, right?
Right.
And she turned out to be just the same. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
See, I believe in the story of the Bible. The Bible says Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden.
Right.
That's what they were. They were secluded from everybody else, anything else. They lived together in harmony.
Right.
So once you're in an environment where you and the woman are there, you're going to live in harmony. If there's nothing else, if you live isolated, just you and that woman,
right,
you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. But
right, that makes sense. I agree with that. Yeah.
But and once Eve sinned against Adam, they couldn't go back to Eden again. That means you can't go back to that lovely life again. And
right.
I've since, and I'm not going to tell you I'm a gorgeous guy. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm 57. I'm blinded. I'm getting blind, bald, fat, and ugly. That's me.
Wow.
And even that now, I had I think it was 17 women propose to me.
Right.
They're so desperate and they're looking for an external source of happiness, in my opinion.
Right. No, you're right.
This aligns with what you're saying with the endorphins. They're looking for endorphins from somebody else or from a new partner. They're looking for this.
Right.
Growing up in New York City is an eye-opener in a lot of ways. You get to see on a massive scale people's personalities and how they interact with other people. And I don't think you get that in a small town, but you don't get the over abundance or the overwhelmingness of it. I had a friend of mine. I had many friends of mine that went through divorces, and they went to other countries to seek another wife or something from another country. And a woman is a woman. It doesn't matter.
That's right.
You get them from Russia. You get them. I went to Romania, Bulgaria, and Moldova.
Wow.
With a friend of mine, because he was searching for a bride. And many women came up to me, because I was American. And I said, nope, I'm sorry, nope, I'm not doing it. And many women, but they were looking for that external happiness. They were looking for that external source of happiness, which, it's not going to come to them. I've seen many women looking for an external source of happiness, while men are looking to share their happiness, their joy.
That makes sense. It makes perfect sense. My life is so peaceful right now. I mean, I've even gained weight all my life. I'm trying to gain weight and never could. Now I've been a year without a woman living with me, and I'm getting fat and sassy.
Oh yeah, I gained some weight when I was divorced, and I was really skinny, and I'm not that I'm fat. I'm like 260 pounds. I lost most of my hair, and now I look intimidating. Yeah. I look like one of these guys in a mafia movie. Serious.
That's funny.
And I like it. Sometimes I'm not comfortable with it. Sometimes I forget that I am big and intimidating looking, but I'm a nice guy. I'm a nice, decent person.
Right.
But the past 20 years of my life was better than the first 25 years of me, jumping from one girl to another. And I said to many people, I had many girlfriends. I only wanted one.
Right.
And, Again, you've been married how many years?
I was 19 years for my first marriage, and then
Right.
7 years with my Mexican wife. And the day she became a citizen, she moved out.
Wow.
Right. So they're all the same. I mean,
Yeah. And you want to know something? This is one of the things that I've seen also. Women will marry a man for one purpose. And once that purpose is over, they don't want him. You know, so the Mexican woman, she wanted to marry you for the purpose of a green card, let's say. In my opinion, what I see is they negate all other possibilities. They negate all other possibilities. This is my narrow view of what I want for this man. I mean, you could have been a great person. You could have been, you know, very loving, very caring, very, you know, whatever she needs. But she negated all of that just for the one purpose. And I see women do that a lot, over and over again. It's I just see it all the time, and it's sad to see. A friend of mine once did his wife walked out on him, and she ended up leaving him, and she lived with her parents, and then she met a guy and she got married with him, and that was over in 6 months. And then she married another person, and she was living in a nice house in New York City, a house, not an apartment, a house. And she left her husband, and now she lives in a trailer park in Florida, you know, and my friend lives, you know, sold the house, split it with his two brothers and sisters. So it was $1.5 million house. So he got a $500,000 apartment, which is, you know, nice where he lives, you know, and she lives in a trailer park. It's crazy. So they have the one purpose thing. Anyway, Darrell Parrott, you wrote a book, you said.
Yes, In Defense of Children.
Is it on Amazon?
Yeah.
In Defense of Children.
Yeah. 2015.
So In Defense of Children is selling on Amazon.
Right.
And you wrote the book.
I'm an artist, so I illustrated it too.
Oh, okay.
No, I made just the covers. I take it back. It's the front and back cover.
Getting endorphins from pets instead of their children because their children were not part of their lives, or they're sort of like aborted to children, or had no children at all. You know, there's a movement going on called MGTOW, and it's men going their own way. They don't want to be part of this feminist, controlled, government-supported, one-sided system where the man is always evil and the woman is always the victim. What do you think about this movement?
Well, it's just a response to the feminists. They had a movement starting back in the 60s, right? The women have changed. The men cannot remain the same. We have to adapt. And so MGTOW is just the men getting together and talking about what is the best way to adapt, to become the new men, right? We can't do what our grandfathers did. We'll get treated like dirt. And we have to decide how we're going to behave in our time. And now at the time when DNA tests are available. So we have resources that our grandfather didn't, right? I think every child should be DNA tested at birth.
Exactly.
And that way you never, you think I'm cheating, you're making me have one. No, everybody gets one, right? So I've met a lot of these millennials who were raised without a father. Right. And I tell them all the same story. When I was a kid, I was probably about 12, 14 years old. I got a motorcycle. My father told me, he said, if you wreck it, I don't want to hear you whining about it. All right. So I rode all summer, had so much fun. And then one day, sure enough, I wrecked it. And it tore off so much skin. And I limped home, and Mom was, oh, Darrell, oh, you're never going to ride that again. Oh, look what's happened. And I was starting to agree. Oh, yeah, this is too much pain, right? Then Dad walked in, looked at me, and just fell on the floor laughing, right? And they got me laughing. And I realized he told me about this when I started, right? And so to be a man, that's what it meant. Part of it was suck the pain up and laugh about it. I mean, you made the decision, live with it. And that's what boys raised without a mother, I think that's what they miss. I mean, the woman wants to protect them. The father teaches them how to attack the world, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, or don't let the world get the best of you.
Right, how to defend yourself. Right. And how to make a decision and then stand behind it.
Exactly. This has been a very informative talk.
Well, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it too. Thank you so much for inviting me.
What one piece of advice are you going to give to men or younger boys listening to this podcast?
Look at the girl's mother. All right. If the girl's mother treats an animal like a pet, look further. There's maternal guilt hidden there somewhere, and she will give bad advice to her daughter. You follow me? So look at the mother and make that a big factor in your decision. And the consequences. The more you think about it, the consequences are astounding. I mean, all these women with pets out here have some deep, dark secret they're trying to cover up, right? And they're trying to hide it from us men. And so this is a glimpse into their soul.
Go and check out his book, In Defense of Children. Link is in the description. Darrell Parrott, it was very nice and very informative conversation we had here. I do hope you come again.
All right. Well, you have a nice day, and thank you again. I hope I didn't upset you. I know my ideas are a little radical.
Darrell Parrott, a scholar, a mentor, and a gentleman. Thank you for stopping by. It was great having you.
All right. Well, thank you.